Hey guys, this is Lewis,
And I'm Brennan.
and we are the owners of L&B Productions. And we wanted to go over a case study with you for a web design case study with Imagine 4D, the world leader in virtual reality. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was how the site was driving customers away. So we'll start with that, and then we'll hit it point by point. We also have a blog that is a companion blog to it, that we wrote that would do well if you want to reference back to it. So Brandon, what is the first thing to the site driving customers away? What was that? How was the site driving customers away?
Well, yeah. So I mean, when they came to us, um, the site was driving customers away after they had seen them at a conference. So basically, Imagine 4D, like a lot of companies, went to relative conferences where they could garner business. And so people would come up to them, they'd talk to them, they'd visit their booth, and after they'd talk to them, it'd be great. You know, they get a good experience. The actual product is amazing, so they'd be blown away. But then when they get home, they were kind of baffled because they'd look at their website and they'd wonder, is this a real business? is this
Yeah.
is how credible are these people? Because the website was just one page and it was pretty sparse. Not to down Imagine 4D or anything, but just that was the fact of the matter, that when customers went to research them afterwards, it just, things didn't add up. It didn't make sense, and their website was doing the opposite of helping them. It was driving their customers away, and so that was why they came to us, and was the core need for the website.
Yeah, and another core need that I remember is that they needed specifically for conferences too, and they needed it very, very quickly. They needed it in like less than 4 weeks or something, which is not nearly enough time for a website. But we were able to get an amazing amount done for them, and definitely an amount that was sufficient for their upcoming mega conference that they needed to be looking good at, and have a whole new logo redesign on top of that. So that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, was the branding implementation. So what is Imagine 4D for in terms of the branding implementation?
So, I mean, Imagine 4D is the world's most realistic, immersive virtual experience. And so you can tell by what I just said, it's a little hard to imagine. It's a little hard to understand what that is. And so when people can experience it, when they can actually go in and see the visuals that are in Imagine 4D, is what they call stations, which is an actual dome they build for you to go in and experience a virtual environment. It's amazing, and it's totally just futuristic, and it makes an impact. And so in our branding implementation, we wanted to have ideas that would encompass that. And so one of the first idea we took off was the Tesseract. And so we were just generating different ideas, and I think you were the one who first had the idea for the Tesseract with Imagine 4D because of the name.
Yeah, the Tesseract was because we think when I just saw fourth dimension, and we'll have a before and after in the blog and the logo as well, because it's pretty wild how I think how much better it evolved. But it was crazy because it was a cube for 4D, and it didn't make quite as much sense. So I was like, why not make it a Tesseract, because that is literally 4 dimensions. And a Tesseract is really cool, and just the name Tesseract sounds cool. And part of the branding is like, you just gotta feel cool, man, that kind of thing. So it was that, along with the idea of a flux capacitor with Back to the Future, and then which was really really cool. And the other thing too was Tesla, the writing, the Imagine 4D, which the Imagine 4D lettering was inspired by Tesla and a few others that we put together. It was more futuristic, but still a bit corporate, but still not too corporate. So it had to fit a certain aesthetic. So we kind of brought Back to the Future, Tesseract, and like 4Dimensions and Tesla all in one, and kind of melded them together in a way with Imagine 4D's vision and inspiration for their original mission, so that it matched their customers and exceeded their expectations. And they love it. And they've been using it for a year now, so it's been effective. So so with page design, so let's go into the pages. What do we mean by intuitive page design?
So after we put the branding implementation together and started designing the actual website and getting the pages laid out, I think what's important to note from our standpoint, just in the process, was that the design is intuitive. And so what that means is we've gotten to a point in web design, which I think is important, that we are so well versed in the elements that we work with. We're so well versed and have all the coding in place, all those systems in place, to where we can design intuitively. So we don't have to worry about what kind of code we're going to put here. What are we going to do over here? Well, we're having a problem with this. This design makes sense. We can pretty much just get a couple things. We can get what do we need to communicate this message to the client's customer, and the aesthetic. So we get the aesthetic and the message, and we meld those two together intuitively into design. So it's a really creative process, and it takes a lot of the really hard labor and just the unnecessary fiddling with codes and things like that. It takes it out of the picture. And so I think we did that really well with Imagine 4D, because we were under a time constraint with Imagine 4D. They had a conference coming up when they contacted us, and so they said, we want to have this website ready for that conference. It's a big conference. We're going to have a lot of customers, and of course this is a multi-million-dollar product, and so when they have an opportunity, it's a big deal. And so we had to be sure we got it done in time, right on time. And so the intuitive design allows for that. It allows for that kind of speed that a lot of other people don't have the opportunity to get.
And I think, and a lot of what we mean, to be more specific with intuitive design, is that over the years, because I've been developing websites since I was 16, and Brandon's developing it for some time now. And Brandon does most of our web design for the most part, most of the actual, most of the client's web design. But what we mean by, to go just more specific intuitive design, we have a lot of the tools, and a lot of people know, depending on knowledge, WordPress, themes in WordPress, the core, there's, if you have the deeper understanding you have of these content management systems, with already the knowledge of systems that you can put in place to make everything as seamless as possible, so you can focus on the design for the client's customer in mind, and kind of releasing you from the shackles of hard programming. We have the ability to do customization. We do, but luckily, all of these things, including the theme, because we've been working with one theme for almost 6 years at the same time. So it's, and many people can use these tools, but it's the person behind using these tools that will make the greatest difference. That's where the value is. So that's what kind of more specific what we mean by intuitive design. We have all these systemized processes in place that allow us to really put the focus on the client's customer instead of having to worry about unnecessary programming or hard programming. We have a lot of these things, um, just we have a lot of these things systemized in many ways, and you can see more of videos on our YouTube channels for a deeper explanation of that as well. So to go even deeper, what else do we mean by design is for the client's customer?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on it perfectly well, but with and this goes into the copywriting as well, and I think a big part of the design and the copywriting is the collaboration that we have with the client. And so I guess that's a concept as a whole, the collaboration, because it was a big part of our success with this site. Jason Bingo was he's the chief sales officer for Imagine 4D, and collaborating with him allowed us to move at the pace and efficiency we did, because we were just so concrete on our relationship, and he really understood what we were doing. And it started with the beginning, because Lewis is often the person who speaks with these people initially, and he communicates, of course, a lot of what we do and then some of what we don't do. And so with the way we work with clients, the website, it's targeted towards the client's customer. And so, I feel like where a lot of designers or even agencies fall short is that they want to either please the client, or they're all they care about is pleasing the client, or even worse, they just want to please themselves. And so we can kind of kick back on that. We can kind of with clients, we can kind of kick back on that a little bit, and we'll come with contradicting ideas like, I know you like this, but this may not be what's best for your targeted customer. This may not be best for the people you're trying to go after. And so I think with design, one of the key differences oftentimes is that we design for the client's customer. We design for that person because that's who's going to be viewing the website, and that's who's going to be taking action. And so when we're writing or designing, that's who we have in mind.
Yeah, and part of the other thing too is that a lot of people you don't want to work with somebody that just wants to please you, because it's not for you. And if you knew what the best design for your site was, you'd be designing the site. So part of yourself, you should know that you can't trust your own decisions. And you may understand a vibe or an aesthetic, but that still doesn't mean it's actually what your audience is really craving for. And you may have a really good idea of what you think it may work with. And so that's why I think it's good that we work with people. We tell them how it is. Sometimes they take our recommendation. Sometimes they're not, because ultimately you have the final decision, because it's your investment. And we understand, but we are not yes people. We're not yes men. And I think that is ultimately going to reward you the most, and why it's so great to have that secondary person that will push back on some ideas, so that you can break ground even further, because that's part of it. And that's kind of sometimes the issue with hiring others, is that they focus on pleasing you instead of pleasing your customer. So what the final thing we wanted to talk about was stats. So what were some of the stats on the website?
Yeah, and so but before I guess we go into the details of the stats, just a quick preface on measuring a website's impact. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, and quantifying it in total, a website's total impact is really, really difficult. You have to be really thorough in order to get the whole of that. But with Imagine 4D, there were some key things based on exactly what they were trying to do. And so, of course, the first metric is leads. That's the first metric. That's usually the first metric with everyone. And so, when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar product, it's a very different concept. A lead is extraordinarily valuable. So obviously, we like out of the gate with them, we weren't expecting leads for a little while. It just doesn't make sense.
It's a $2 million product.
Yeah, you can't expect that out of the gate. It wouldn't make any sense. And so, however, I will say that the reception of the site was so great, and I think we did such a great job putting it together and then collaborating with Jason that over the course of, I think it was after 4 months, we have received the leads. So that metric's pretty fantastic. Yeah. But let's start at the beginning of how we started to quantify it. The first level of impact, of measuring the website impact was Jason, the CSO for Imagine 4D. He took the website and he distributed it out to his current clients, and he got feedback from them. And so, long story short, the reception was fantastic. Everybody thought it was a huge step up from the previous website, and there was really nothing but good things to say. And so, that's awesome. Everybody got a great moral boost out of that, and just some good information on where we can continue on the future. And so that's great. But then the next things we want to start measuring are traffic and keywords, because the site is live and it's garnering traffic, it's garnering keywords, and so we started measuring that. And within the first couple of months, this website started gaining valuable keywords, and one of them was, just a perfect keyword for them, and they're racing towards the first page on it, and it was a virtual simulation. So that's huge for this company. If they can be on the map for a keyword like virtual simulation, if when people type in virtual simulation they come up, they will get noticed. They will get picked up because the site has so many things about virtual simulation that people are going to want to read about. They're like, people who are looking for virtual simulation, they're going to want to know who Imagine 4D is. And so I think that keyword is that was like one fantastic keyword. Another, the other metric, traffic, is they built up, they're building up hundreds of visitors a month now. And so, with their previous website, it was sparse. It was pretty much just their current clients, and now they're organically gaining hundreds of visitors a month. And so, of course, with those metrics put together, and now that the fact that they've had a lead come through and inquire about them from a conference, that there's a lot of great things about that. That's so much success for Imagine 4D, and really the value that's been put behind their website has been well worth it for them, because it's going to continue impacting their company and the people who see that website for years in the future.
Yeah, so I know this was a little, this is fairly in depth. We went over a ton of concepts. I would recommend looking at the blog and checking. You can reference back on all this. So that if you're looking for a website, or if you're looking for someone to add to your team to help develop your website, and utilize video photography, because that's part of our biggest strength, is that we're all in one in many ways. And I want to give a big shout out again, thanks to Jason, because Jason, if you're watching this far, thank you. I appreciate you. I think the other biggest thing that motivates us is the relationships we build with our clients, and he has been nothing but a stellar client, but also a friend and a mentor in many ways. And I think it's important to give him a shout out for this as well. because he's taught us a lot too. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you soon.